You can cry on command.
Options, but they are usually very fast, and that is why I decided to create this. Welcome to Free Talk, the show to help you learn English the fun and simple way. Ready?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Free Talk Podcast, the show where we have one objective to take your English to the next level, the fun and simple way. My name is Alan, and I am the host of this show. And today I want to talk to you about this idea that occurred to me just a couple of days ago. Well, first, I was watching a video from a late night show. Actually, it was the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, I think. I think it was that one. And I saw this interview. He was interviewing this actor who is very old, but I mean really old. I'm not sure even who he was or how old he is, but he was very old. And well, actually, that first story is not really relevant to the episode, but I just thought about mentioning it because I think that I am always telling you stories that I think of after I see a video or after I read something online. So I don't really have like much first-hand stories. But anyway, when I was watching this interview, I suppose that what the actor was saying was something that maybe I related to common old people behavior, because he was like 90 years old. And I was thinking that it's, if you think on your oldest relatives, think on your grandmother or grandfather, or if you have great-grandmothers, great-grandfathers, people who are really old, who were born in the 1910s, in the 1920s. These people usually have, of course, a way of thinking of their own that is very representative of or very characteristic to their age and to the time they were born. And most of the times, when you listen to people that old, they will tell you, of course, stories of how their lives were when they were younger, how things were different. And usually they are going to be complaining and they are going to say, oh no, things were better in my day, things were better 50 years ago, people were better, I don't know, families were more important, people were more in touch with each other, and so on. And a lot of people who are that old are also sometimes very narrow-minded. So narrow, N-A-R-R-O-W, is the opposite of wide. Something is wide, something is extensive, it's big, it's ample. And the opposite is narrow. So when you say that a person is narrow-minded, it is of course being the opposite of open-minded. And that means that these people are usually closed to new ideas. They see change as something bad or negative. And they don't easily accept new things that are happening right now. Just for example, we can talk, for example, about gay marriage. Right now, it's a tendency, at least in the United States and in some other European countries and in Latin American countries as well, that now it's legal for men to marry men or women to marry women. And that is something that is, I think, really new in a way, but also something that is really radical, something really different, drastically different to the way it used to be. Just, I mean, right now, gay people can get married, and I think just 20, 30 years ago, it was almost impossible to come out as a gay person, to accept yourself as a gay person and tell the world that you were gay. But now, just after this really, really short period of time, it's now more socially acceptable, and it's now legal, and there is no big problem with that. Of course, it continues to be a problem for people who is narrow-minded, and that usually happens to be elderly people, old people. And this whole idea got me thinking, because I like to think of myself as a very open-minded person. I don't see myself having, any, or at least not that I know of, any prejudice. So for me, it's absolutely okay. For example, if gay people want to get married, go for it. I don't know why anybody would like to get married, but if that's what they do, they are entitled to that. Entitled. E-N-T-I-T-L-E-D. Entitled. That means they have the right to do it. Why shouldn't they? Women are now escalating positions in the workplace slowly. Unfortunately, it's still a slow process, but women are now being hired or occupying higher positions within companies, and that is great. And now there is a debate, or there is this this issue where men are still earning more money than women. So if you compare a man and a woman doing the same job in the same company for the same time, men are still getting higher salaries. So of course, this is an issue that a lot of people are getting into, because women should get an equal payment, and I am again all for it. I think that's it's not even a question of that's something that you need to discuss. It should be, if you are doing the same job, you should receive equal payment. And in a lot of other topics, I consider myself to be a very open-minded person. But of course, I was thinking that why is it that we have this maybe more liberal opinions or more open-minded opinions? And of course, this is about the time we are living, the time when we were born, and the times that we are living. Now it is not stigmatized. It is not seen as a bad thing to support gay rights or to support women's rights, because that's the times we are living. But these old people, your grandmother, my grandmother, my grandfather, they were born in a very different time. So just imagine that a person who today is, let's say, 90 years old. This person was born in 1926. So this person was born in the 90s, in the 20s. So, but that time when he was a kid and when he was growing up, again, women were not allowed to vote. So they didn't have a voice in electing presidents or political representatives. There was this obvious and accepted division between races. So there was all this apartheid thing where black people could not go into the same places that white people would go. They would have to use different bathrooms. and there was, I mean, today we still have racism, but back in the day, back in the 20s, in the 30s, it was not seen as racism. It was just seen as a normal thing, like the natural thing to do. So, of course, if you are a kid who were born in 1920, and by the time you are 15, 20 years old, being racist was the thing to be. It was nothing strange or unusual on it. Of course, when you get older, you are going to keep those prejudices with you. And that is the reason why these people who have been alive for longer have this kind of ideas that we can call old school ideas, just to put it nicely, or I mean retrograde ideas that we consider now to be outdated, to be just wrong. And again, I mean, going back to my intention with this episode is that right now we feel that a change is happening, and it's a good change, and we are accepting and embracing all these changes, and maybe we are living in a more open society. Again, this is not entirely true for everybody. There are still a lot of people, I mean, not really old people, relatively young people, who have these very, very old, dated ideas that are really no good. Just, I've been following the election process from the United States, and you can see the division between the two parties, and the conservatives are really conservatives. I mean, these people are, I think one of them is in their 40s, 45, something like that, and they have these ideas about not allowing, for example, gay marriage. And for me, that's just, it's something that really, really baffles me. It troubles me. I just cannot believe that people today in 2016 continue having these ideas. But, well, I digress. The thing that the topic that I want to really address here is that, again, we are living in this new generation. We are more open-minded. We accept changes. We are starting to see fewer differences between people. Now there should not be any difference between men and women. Now there should be no difference among races. There should be no difference between sexual orientations or life decisions. So we are accepting all those ideas. But that is because we live in these times. At least, for example, in my case, my family was very liberal in many respects. I was raised in Catholicism, so I was a Catholic. But when I decided to abandon Catholicism, and I decided I don't want to have a religion anymore, my family said, "Okay, it's your life, live your life." So of course, for me at least, the environment where I grew up was very free. I mean, I didn't have any dogmas or any outdated ideas. And I like to think of myself as a very open-minded person, but I don't know what things are going to happen in the future. I don't know what the future has in store for us. So maybe when I am 30, 35, 40, 50, something radical may happen in society, and then maybe for me this new thing is something that I will not be able to accept, because we really don't know what things could happen as a society. If you look back in history, so many things have happened, and we never know how crazy society can get. I really don't have any idea on what things could change, but I know something radical might change. There is a possibility. And I am afraid of becoming one of these cranky old people who is always saying, I don't understand you, young people. In my life, in my time, life was simpler, and we weren't doing all these crazy things and all that. So that was just really the point of this episode. I don't know if you have ever had this idea, if you have ever wondered how you are going to be or how you could be as an old person. And I don't know, I would like to know if, for example, it would be, I think, very interesting to share with each other, to share with the rest of the listeners some of the ideas that you have listened in old people that you consider that not only are they not relevant today anymore, but that are crazy. So just to start things off, I will tell you one thing that one of my uncles, the other day told me that I really, I couldn't really understand why it was a big deal. He's not living in Mexico. He's living in the United States, and he has been living in the United States for, I think, more than 30 years. And he's not very old. I think that by now he should be something around 60, 65 or something. So he's not very old. But one of the first times when he came back to Mexico and I had the opportunity to talk to him, in that time my hair was really long. Long, like to my shoulders or something like that. And he just, when I saw him, he looked at me like kind of funny, like trying to not say anything, but in the end he said, "Why do you have your hair long?" And I said, "I don't know, I like to have my hair long." And he said, and the cops don't stop you on the street?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, back in my day, if you had your hair long, you were kind of a suspicious person. So we, in order to avoid problems, we had to have our hair short. And because maybe if you had your hair long, could indicate that you were maybe or you had some kind of sexual orientation, or you were some kind of criminal or felon." I don't know. I really didn't ask him any further questions, but he had this idea that long hair was something that you should avoid. And I don't know, that was just something new to me at the time, and every time that I see him, I keep asking myself how life should have been in a time where you needed to just take care of how long your hair was, or you could get in trouble. That is crazy, and that tells us something about the life of society in that time, not the life of my uncle, the life of society at large. So I would really like to know, what are some of the craziest ideas that you have listened from old people, and also if you think that something radical can change in our society and we are all destined to be cranky, old-fashioned men and women. So I will see you next Friday for a new episode. This Friday we are going to check a new aspect of pronunciation. So make sure you come here again on Friday to listen to that episode and learn a new point on pronunciation. Thank you very much for listening. I would really appreciate your comments, your suggestions. Suggestions would be really helpful because right now we are making all of these things with the videos and the podcast, and I try every time to make my best and think of, for example, with the videos, new expressions or interesting topics. For the podcast, I try to really think on the best ideas for these topics, and sometimes I think they are interesting, but it will be really important and it will be really good if you could let me know what do you want to listen on these episodes. We have a couple of suggestions that we are now working on, but any idea that you have to make this podcast more fun, more entertaining, more illustrative, more educational, anything, let me know. You can let me know on my webpage on www.freetalkenglish.com/podcast. You can do it using Facebook, using Twitter, using sending me an email. Any way you want to contact me, I will really appreciate it. I will see you this Friday for a new episode. Thank you very much for listening and keep it simple.